Dhamma Jomden de Jaba da Jomba Yanda Ba Zobe Zanje Riba Dan Shamsu Demba Jeba Jeden Jamba Jebu Deve Kalu Jurwa Lana Meba Lada Menam Je Damba Sanje Jomden de Pe Java Shaja Toba La Chaze Chudu Japso Che Demba Jomden de Dijin Shewa Ta Jomba Yandaba Zobe Sanje Rigba Da Shabzu Demba Dewara Shewa Jigden Chemba Jebu Duve Kalu Yorwa Lana Meba Lada Menam Je Demba Sanje Jomden de Pejawa Shaja Tuba La Chaze Shudo Jazo Che Hoi Demba Jumden de Dijin Sheba Ta Jumba Yandaba Zobe Sanje Rigba Da Shabzo Demba Dewara Sheba Jiden Jemba Jebu Dube Galo Jorwa Lana Meba Lada Menam Je Demba Sanje Chomden de Pejawa Shaja Toba La Shaze Judo Jazo Che Ho Sanje Judan Soye Chonama La Chanju Balo Dane Jazo Che Dagi Shushe Jebe Sonam Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho Sanje Judan Soye Chonama La Chanju Bado Dane Jaso Che Dagi Shushe Jebe Sonama Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho Sanje Chodan Soje Chonama La Chanju Bado Dane Jaso Che Dagi Shushe Jebe Sonama Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho. Good morning, good morning. I hope you are able to hear me clearly. I just realized that the sound was down. So, I just wanted to share, while we are doing this preliminary prayers, paying homage to Buddha, I suddenly felt or realized how fortunate I am to be able to do this, to share Dharma, to spend the Sunday morning sharing Shantideva's teaching. Yeah, sometimes we forget to appreciate how lucky and fortunate we are. So those of us who are here tuning in to Dharma is far better than those who are doing some worldly things. That's what we have been talking about for the past several weeks. Shantideva is trying to encourage us, to show us way to stir us into doing Dharma practices. As we have discussed, there are so many obstacles, there are so many things that taught us, that prevent us that prevent us from doing Dharma. So one, of course, Shantideva states that it is our attachment, the way of life that we are entangled in because of our lifestyle, because of our condition, because of our situation. There are many things that we wanted to do in terms of Dharma practice, but we cannot. So if those who are really seriously thinking about doing practices, the real Dharma practice, and particularly to develop this state of mind, that single-pointed concentration or calm abiding, then Shantideva says that first thing is to really get away from all the distractions. So for beginners, when we reach certain level of practice or spiritual development, then it is okay. Nothing can really create any obstructions. The external factors may not hinder so much of our practice. But when we are at the beginner's level, when we are too prone to be distracted by outer or external objects, or our attachment to what is called inner object, which means human beings, or our loved ones, our circle of friends, then it is important to really reduce that attachment. Of course, when we say reduce attachment, it does not mean stop loving our loved ones. This clinging, this grasping attitude, we need to reduce that. We have to find a way to love without attachment. So we have discussed several ways. Not really we have, Shantideva has discussed, shown us several ways. So the first, Shantideva talked about the external things, how our obsession for material gains, fame, status can prevent us, can become an obstacle to our Dhamma practice. So Shantideva has shown us a list of things that we can use, list of contemplations that we can use to reduce our attachment to the external objects, material gains. And then he directs our attention towards what is called the inner object, that is our circle of friends, families, the companions. We may be able to reduce or even eliminate attachment towards external objects, but it is difficult, it is more difficult to really reduce the degree of attachment to our loved ones and companions. And Shantideva showed us how this kind of attachment can also become a hindrance to our Dhamma practice. So we were at this, just to recap. So this is focused on ways to reduce our attachment to our friends and companions, or what we call loved ones. So Shantideva started by saying that it is meaningless, it is not wise to be so attached to something which eventually will part from us. Shantideva gave the analogy that even our bones and our body itself, the bones and skins and everything, they came into being together. But eventually, even that something which has arisen together can eventually become separated. And the friends and the loved ones that we cherish so much, only we picked up along our life, is not something that came together. That was not the part and parcel when we were born. But Shantideva was saying that, then why are we so attached? And then he also, the reason is that he gave the reason that when we were born alone. So when we leave this life, when we journey into the next life, we will be traveling, we will be making the journey alone. We cannot bring anybody along with us during that journey. And then he advised us to view the view our loved ones like a guest in the same place for just one night. And then he ends up by this verse, until the time comes for the body to be supported by 4 pallbearers, while the worldly stand around sticking with grief. Until then I shall retire to the forest. So this verses falls under the subheading, which is instruction, which is advice or conclusion that we must go to the forest. So we may raise this issue that, yes, I see the benefits of leading a solitary life, going to the jungle and be free from all the distractions so that I can focus on my Dharma practice. But then he said, oh, I have my house, I have all that belongings, I have all the possessions, I have loved ones, so I am unable to bear, I cannot bear to be separated from my home, companions, and friends. So I dare not, I better not go. So that's for that kind of argument, Shantideva refutes with this line, until the time comes for the body to be supported by 4 pallbearers. So first of all, we all know that everything must to come to an end. Any product that has been produced by cause and effects must come to cessation. As such, over this life, must come to an end. We all must die. But how we die, how we experience the final time of our death depends on us. So Shantideva was saying that if we live, if we don't focus on Dharma practice, and if we still lead a life in that kind of samsaric way, entangled in loved ones and all that, the likelihood is that when the time comes, one will be surrounded by loved ones who will display so much sorrow, lots of crying and wailing, and the one who is dying, when one sees all that, it can affect us. It can distract us from our practice. One may even die with so much pain and sorrow, and there's so much attachment, wishing to be still living with the loved ones. So there is this danger, but of course it is not that everybody who doesn't live a solitary life dies with that kind of met with that kind of death, but there is a more likelihood. So that's why Shantideva was saying that before such thing happens, before one dies with full of sorrow and pain and suffering, one needs to leave this life and lead a life of solitude. While the wolves are sticking with grip, until then I shall retire to the forest. It is the time. So I think this is important for us to really re-evaluate our life, how we have been lived our life in the past, and how would we like to die. Remember, we always say that the mindset at the time of death matters. The kind of mindset we have at the time of the death determines our future life, whether to be born in higher realms or in lower realms. If we are able to generate or conjure a positive mindset at the time of death, then it is most likely that we will be able to bring up the positive karma and thereby born in a higher realm. So we may think that that looks quite easy, that looks quite simple. The only thing I have to do is to conjure a positive attitude, positive mindset at the time of death, and that's only it takes, we may think. But it's not so easy. When one is not habituated in generating positive mind while one is alive, it is very, very difficult, if it is not impossible, to generate a positive mindset, because at the time of death there's a lot of uncertainties, there's a lot of fear, and then there's a lot of distractions. People surrounding you and telling you, giving you instructions, wailing, and all that. So it takes one to establish a habit of engaging in positive mindsets. Only then one can hope that this will automatically arise. If not, even without much effort, one will be able to generate a positive mindset. So for that reason, we must evaluate ourselves. We will be the only witness. We are the ones who knows ourselves the best. So imagine if we are to die tonight, would we be able to generate a positive mindset? Do we have that kind of confidence that one will be able to generate a positive mindset? For most of us, we cannot guarantee. We may not have that confidence. But the good thing is, we are not dead yet. The time has not come yet. We still have time. So that's why it is important to evaluate and then make the determination to really ensure that when the time comes, one will be able to conjure that positive mindset. So this is what His Holiness says. We are visitors on this planet. We are here for 100 years at the very most. During that period, we must try to do something useful with our lives. If you contribute to other people's happiness, you will find the true meaning of life. So it all boils down to the practice of compassion and bodhicitta, the practice of kindness, the practice of being useful to others. So this Shantideva's chapter is all about that. In order to develop the two types of bodhicitta, the conventional and the ultimate bodhicitta, first one needs to develop shamatha. Without that kind of a stable mind, it is impossible to achieve or to develop two types of bodhicitta. So upon developing calm abiding or the single-pointed concentration, then one goes about developing the special insight, which can then counter the root cause of our samsara. So the next one, Sheme kumbang me chene lüdi chikbu öne de ngane shibdan dar zi ne shinang nyanyen cheba me. So following from the earlier stanza when Shantideva kind of instructs us, advises us to go to the forest. So one may wonder, does it mean that if I go to lead a solitary life, does it mean that there's no death? You mean I won't die? So to answer this, Shantideva says the following: befriending no one and begrudging no one, my body will dwell alone in solitude. If I'm already counted as a dead man, When I die, there will be no mourners. Mm. So he said, yes, of course. There is no place on this earth where one can escape death. Wherever you go, death will follow. One will die. But there's a difference. When you lead a life of solitude and doing one's practice, even though one may die, but it says that there is no distress or suffering at the time of death. The reason is that befriending no one, because now you have left the household life. You are now living in a jungle or wherever, in a solitary confinement or kind of a remote, where there's nobody. Everybody has kind of, because you left, there are no enemies begrudging you. There are no enemies that are causing you angry, causing you anger, makes you angry. And there are no loved ones that creates what do you call the for one to develop attachment. My body will dwell alone in the solitude. If I am already counted as a dead man, when I die, there will be no mourners. So there will be nobody who will surround you and then mourn for your death. There will be no one to distract you. So that's one benefit. Even though we may die, even leading a solitary life, but at least there is no there's no distress or suffering caused by people who surround you surround you at your deathbed. And what else? Tuna kyoba sudaja nyanyen yoba chemebe di sanjen je denso sujan yenwara juames. Moreover, it says that there is this aspect of virtue not declining and instead increasing. And as there will be no one around to disturb me with their mourning, thus there will be no one to distract me from my recollection of the Buddha. So earlier I mentioned about dying with a positive mindset. So what are the common positive mindsets that we should have at the time of death? So the most common one is this strong refuge, taking refuge, heartfelt refuge in Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. To be able to remember Buddha and Buddha's qualities. Of course, one is able to meditate on bodhicitta or emptiness. That's good. But the most common one for those lay people who have no much understanding in bodhicitta or in the concept of emptiness, the easiest is to generate deep faith in the three jewels, to remember to take refuge in one's Guru and the three jewels. So Shantideva was saying that when you lead that kind of life, it is easier to focus on the recollection of the Buddha, remembering three jewels, because there is no distraction. So if we die in a normal house, most of the time you are surrounded by people. And sometimes they are not helpful. Of course, from their part, they are helping. They are showing their love. They are showing their sorrow, their pain. But that does not help. So that's why in Tibetan tradition, when somebody is dying, they will try to invite a Rinpoche or a monks to do prayers. We always discourage family members surrounding the dying person, because there's this danger of being distracted from focusing on remembering the three jewels or generating a positive mind. And as there will be no one around to disturb me with their mourning, thus there will be no one to distract me from my recollection of the Buddha. Tewe shindo dang gawe nakze tsekjung diki shing yangwa tamje shi jebar dani jebo nebar chas. So now Shantideva is kind of making the final conclusion. So therefore, it is appropriate, it is the right thing for me or for us to rely on solitude. Therefore, I shall dwell alone, happy and contented with few difficulties, in very joyful and beautiful forests, pacifying all distractions. It is true, isn't it? Even though we want more, even we want, people aspire or people desire, have a bigger house, bigger car, everything has to be big and nicer. But all this big and huge one comes with additional work and responsibility. Imagine if you are living in a mansion, big house. Just the cleaning, just maintaining the house, just keeping the house clean requires so much effort, so much work. Whereas if you live in one simple room, that would be much easier. So when I was in monastery studying, I spent most of my life, years of studying, study years, in one room. That room was my dining room, my study room, my bedroom, my living room, all in one. It's so easy, so simple. And then later I got a new house. Then I need to maintain that. So when you have this kind of things, even though it has its own kind of a benefits, it provides comfort. But for a practitioner, a real practitioner, it is a distraction. Milarepa, his robes, his clothes are all torn, tethered. But he did not sew back. In Tibet, we patch up if there's any tear. We sew back. But Milarepa never did that. And the reason he provided was that it is a waste of time. Instead of wasting time doing that, I should use that. I should focus on my Dharma practice. And there are other great practitioners who meditated in their caves. And the cave is overgrown. Even the entrance was overgrown by shrubs and thorns and whatnot. But their main reason for not clearing that is a waste of time. I rather use that time on my practice, on my meditation. So from that point of view, we know that what we have been engaging in, we realize now that we have been wasting so much time in the name of, I don't know, cleaning our houses, maintaining this houses, that houses. So here the takeaway is, at this time, we are not in a condition. Circumstances is such that we cannot go to lead a life of solitude. But at least we can take these points to our heart and see what are the hindrances, what are the things that are waste of time, and try to redirect our time and energy towards doing something meaningful, something that we can bring along to our next life, something that can benefit us at the time of death, something that can help us generate a positive mindset at the time of death. So these teachings, it doesn't have to be that everything is, every word and every line, it doesn't have to be relevant. But still, you can take the essence. Some of these teachings are given to monks, mainly focused on the Sangha community. Like His Holiness, when he gives teachings, when His Holiness gives teachings in big monasteries, the teaching style is completely different. And many things His Holiness assumes that no need to explanation. So that's why I like to attend His Holiness teaching that are mainly for the lay people. Then he says His Holiness really goes into details, explain each and every concept. Whereas in monasteries, teachings are mostly reading and then only focus on very particular points. So teachings had to cater to the audience. So some of you may find it a bit difficult to really listen to these teachings, but try to get something out of this. definitely there is something. But if you still don't find anything relevant, then I think it is failing from my side that I wasn't able to make it relevant to you. So Shantideva concluded, therefore I shall not swell, dwell alone, happy and contented with few difficulties, in very joyful and beautiful forests, pacifying all distractions. It is funny, isn't it? We pay so much money to go to these remote areas in the jungle, in the resort, pay thousands of dollars. But then, yeah, we are like kind of opposed to that life. So now this coming to a different chapter, different heading. So Shantideva has talked so much, urge us to go into jungle, to lead a solitary life, to abandon or to counter all that attachment. So now, let's say if we are already in the jungle, living a life of solitude life, is that enough? But Shantideva says not enough. Even though you are physically away from the worldly worldly environment, but there's still danger because your mind, your afflictive emotions are still at work. If we are unable to bring changes, our way of thinking, our obsessions, then no matter how far we are from the hustle and bustle of the whatever city life, whatever it is, it can still be it can still be a hindrance to our Dhamma practice. So this is to address the thought process, the afflictive emotions. So this divides into two subheadings. So first is to see the faults of the desire, and then to develop joy in solitary lifestyle. So first, under the first heading, so there are three more. They are further divided into three subheadings. So contemplating how training in desires leads. So training in the sense that habituating in desire leads to results accompanied by destruction, and contemplating the impurity of the nature of the body. Contemplating the desire as a source of many forms of undesirable experiences. So here, this is like the summary. Samba sheni kuntang des. Samba sheni kuntang de. Dala semba chikpuyi semni nyambara shajita. Dewara chaji zun de chas. Dewara chade zun de chas. Oops. So this is more of focusing on the mental isolation. So we have talked about physical isolation. So now this is focusing on the mental isolation. Having given up all other intentions. So these are attachment towards material gains, your loved ones. So being motivated by only one thought, I shall strive to settle my mind in equipoise and to subdue it with superior insight. So the main goal as a Bodhisattva practitioner is to achieve enlightenment. In order to achieve enlightenment, one needs to eradicate the two obstacles, the obstacles to nirvana and obstacles to enlightenment. So in order to do that, we need to develop insight into emptiness, the wisdom realizing emptiness. We need to perceive insight directly, and then we develop that insight so that it can sever the root of obstacles to what's called the enlightenment, shetip. So in order to develop an effective and powerful wisdom realizing emptiness, one first needs to develop a stable mindset, which is the calm abiding. Remember, we talked about the analogy that if one needs to cut a tree, one needs to fell a tree. So in olden days, we use axe. So my father used to do that. So in order to cut down a tree, first of all, one needs a sharp axe. But that alone is not enough. Whoever is using that axe to cut the tree, one needs to have a steady hand. If the person's hand is not steady, then he will be, every blow will be on different spots, and one will never be able to fell the tree down. So we need both a sharp axe as well as a stable hand. So likewise, in order to eradicate all the delusions and afflictive emotions, one needs both stable mind, which is the calm abiding, and the wisdom realizing emptiness. So here is saying that having given up all other intentions, because we have reflected, contemplated on the meaninglessness of other being attached to all these objects. So now one is in the jungle, one is in the cave, and one should be motivated only by this thought to develop first calm abiding, that stable mindset, and with that, upon developing that, to develop the wisdom realizing emptiness, so that one can subjugate or subdue the afflictions. So here Shantideva focuses particularly on this desire aspect of the attachment. Of course, attachment is desire, but this is more like I think it's more focused on the sexual desire. desire in general, affliction in general, but particularly on the attachment and desire, because Shantideva has already focused on other aspects of afflictions. So in chapter 6, on the topic of patience, so it's mainly the anger. So how to tackle anger, how to counter anger. And then when he talked about the perseverance, it is about laziness and other things. And then later, later in this chapter, Shantideva will talk about the faults of self-cherishing attitude and the importance of others cherishing attitude. So this is to counter other afflictive emotions such as jealousy, envy, and all that. So here Shantideva is specifically focusing on this desire aspect, because for beings who are born in desire realm, so we have three realms: desire realm, form realm, formless realm. We are so prone to desires. Any attractive objects can elicit, can engender desire or attachment. So now Shantideva is focusing on that. So this is like a summary. Jigden dedang paru tu doba namni pungzhuge deni sedang jingdang chu paru tu ni nyeso drupes. So this is a summary. The faults, the disadvantages of desire, both in this world and the next. So we are talking about the negative aspects of desire. Desires give rise to great misfortune. In this life, killing, bondage, and flaying, and in the next existence, the existence of hell. So, both in this world and the next. So, I think we don't need much explanation. So, because of attachment, because of desire, we end up in so many troubles. For example, desiring, so like stealing, for example. We desire for something nice, some objects that we desire, and then we engage in stealing. What happens? You may end up in jail, you may get beaten, or even you may get killed. And then in next life, so this one, the different commentary explains differently. So if we focus on the sensual pleasures or sexual desire, because of that kind of attitude, one gets into so much trouble. First of all, one gets involved in sexual misconduct. That can be so dangerous. That can cause so much problem. First of all, it can cause so much harm to other person, hurt families. Families get separated. People get divorced because of what you call the extramarital affairs. in olden days, the sexual desire drives people even to engage with the kings, queens, and you get executed. And then one can land in jail and all that. So this we understand. I don't need to explain. And then in the next life, so all this, like sexual misconduct, for example, is one of the 10 non-virtues. So in karma lesson, we learned that the maximum consequences, no, not maximum, the highest degree, the consequences, the results are divided into 3 categories, remember? The maximum or the highest degree, the medium, the lightest. So all the what do you call the how to put it, the heavy karma, the consequences of all the heavy karmas of the 10 non-virtues results in lower realms. So when I read this, I was curious about it says, desires give rise to great misfortune in this life. It says, in this life, killing, bondage, and flaying. So I was curious, what are the evidence? So I looked for some statistics. I was surprised. What is called the crime of passion. It says extramarital affairs with ex-employees. There are so many stories about this in the news. This happened in Texas. And overall here, the crimes of passions are more likely to occur on weekends. 40% of homicides in the United States are classified as crimes of passion. So if I'm reading it correctly, it's really high percentage. It's like 40% of all these, something to do with that. Driven by desire. Okay, that should be later actually. Anyway, so let's move on. So that's the summary. So that desire begets troubles. So now goes into detail. So it is divided. So now we are talking about what was that one? So the first one is Ponya 그 이제 스캔다고 메릭 받으시 지고 리바스 포냐 몰랑은 강질 도마를 수였답징 대번 남삼 다음인랑 관계된도 만젠버 지발라양 다 슈싱 제장 세버 체규르데스. So these are the faults of desires. For the sake of, so this can be both, can be women, can be men. For the sake of, because as I mentioned before, the audience, main audience are monks. So it is important to point this out. So that's why they use women here. As for the sake of women, many requests are first to all made through go-betweens. All forms of evil and even notoriety are not avoided for their sake. I engage in fearful deeds for them and will even consume my wealth. So this is saying that how we work, how much we commit, how much effort we put in to meet someone, our partners. So first you send these are, I don't know, it's all time. So you send many requests through using a messenger. There's a go-between messengers, but nowadays it's all just you get the contact and then you just text message, isn't it? So those days you have to send letters through messengers, and then you wait for the reply, and then you spend money, you buy things. So these are listing things that we do for a man or woman. If you are a woman, what you do for women. If you're a woman, what you do for men. So that's why the earlier one shows that how much people spend on Valentine's Day. It is estimated that more than 250 million roses are produced on Valentine's Day. This shows how much people spend on flowers, buying roses to be given to, I don't know, your partners, your sweethearts. Valentine's Day is the #1 holiday for florists. 30% of the transaction is on that day. So these are just to give some supporting evidence. I engage in fearful deeds for them. We are so blinded. Remember, many of the crime of passions are really like blinded by this desire. You are so emotionally overwhelmed by this desire that you don't see what is right or wrong. What you are doing is wrong. So one ends up engaging in fearful deeds. But these, so I will first read all. Kanla yonsu kyube na chodo ga gyur teda nyi, kingru nyi yin shen mi na, rangwan tani ta mi la, rabdo dojin yong shen ne, chichir nya nyen de mi dos. I won't go into much detail because this is quite self-explanatory. But these very bodies of theirs that I greatly enjoy in the sexual embrace are nothing other than skeletons. They are not autonomous and are identityless. Rather than being so desirous and completely obsessed, why do I not go to the state beyond sorrow? So why don't I seek emancipation? Why don't I strive towards achieving nirvana, liberation? So this is basically to show that what we do for all this in the name of desire, which is kind of fueled by this desire, is basically showing that one should look at it as a mere bones. They are mere bones. They are not autonomous and identityless. So this one, the translation is a bit strange, but basically it's like, it is not yours. You don't own. You don't own them. You don't own them. You spend so much, you put so much effort in all this thing, but basically it is like sleeping with skeletons. So rather than being so desirous and completely obsessed, why do I not seek liberation? Why do not I put all that effort and commitment in achieving liberation? That's the main point. Kanshi tambu bede tek tangye ngoze wadu ta ngoyne tonga matong yang kweji doni yoba jur. Kwenyo mongbe dong deni tata ngozum jurwashi chagwe jise che tongne tata chichir cherwar ches. In the first place, I made effort to lift. So these are useful for if you are having what you call that, you are undergoing a breakup. If you feel that your heart was broken by somebody, then when you reflect this, it will help you. It's like meaningless, it is pointless. Of course, we don't see it, but Buddhas and those who have realized will see it. They see it as we are so stupid. That's our view when the kids, they play, they build sandcastles, and then they fight over it. And sometimes we see that it is pointless. It is meaningless. Why they work so hard and then argue and fight over it. The kids don't see it. We see it as an adult. So likewise, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas see our conduct, our behavior as like child's behavior, as like childish way. So reflecting through this can help cope with breakups. In the first place, I made effort to lift her veil, and when it was raised, she bashfully looked down. Previously, this, I think maybe, I don't know whether this is the custom or the practice in the West, but I think in Indian culture, so those days mostly arranged marriage, so you have all this. In the first place, I made effort to lift her veil, and when it was erased, she bashfully looked down. Previously, whether anyone looked or not, her face was covered with a cloth, and we are dying to see that face. But now why do I run away upon directly beholding this face that disturbs the mind as it is being revealed to me by the vultures? So basically, when the time comes to death, so when the corpse, it becomes a corpse, it becomes a dead body. So when it becomes a dead body, you are looking at the same face, but you run away from it because it looks so scary now. So basically, Shantideva was saying that why are you running away? Because in the first place, you are so desirous about it. You have put so much effort, always longing to see that face. So it's showing the contradictory. If you are running away now, upon seeing the face that is unveiled by the vultures, then you should be running at the beginning as well. Why now? So this is to show that it is where are my basically to show that whatever we are attached to is actually a skeleton wrapped in clothes. So when you look at it that way, it will help us to reduce this attachment, this desire. It's just being wrapped up by skin. But if you peel it open, then you will see all that flesh, blood, bones, pus, what not. So nothing pretty about that, nothing attractive about that, nothing handsome about that. Shena meke tana yang gangshi yongsu songjoba chisi teni tesana sena chenju chi me songs. Previously I completely protected her body when others cast their eyes upon it. Why, miser, do you not protect it now while it is being devoured by these birds? When finally the body is fed to the vultures, so why are you not protecting now? It is the same body that you are so attached to. It's the same body that you chased after. It is the same face that you are eager to see. And it's the same body you protected. It is the same body for which you have engaged in the act of jealousy, envy, and even ill intentions. So why now? Why now run away? Why not protect now? Shayi pungpo detongne chagu tangshin sajena shenji sela medoji tenwan zenden genji chu. Since vultures and others are eating this pile of meat that I behold, why did I offer flower garlands, sandalwood, and ornaments to that which is now the food of others? Just to show the pointlessness, just to show the meaninglessness, our acts of, what is that word? Our acts of pleasing, this word is propitiating, all our acts of propitiating that person is meaningless, to show the meaninglessness in our act of propitiating that. So I will just read through. Rugong nidu tongneni mingwe yani kyo tana rolan shindu gayi jang kyo brajuna chi minjiks. So this is like weaving our object of desire as zombies or corpse, walking corpse. If I am frightened by the skeletons I see, even though they do not move, why am I not frightened by walking corpses, which are moved around by a few impulses? I think that's about it for today. So let's stop here, and then we will continue in our next class. Let's dedicate. Jambe bawe jedara kemba dan gundo zambo deyan dejendo deda kunge jesu dalo je yawa deda damje rabdo ngo dezon jewe yawa damje je ngowa kala chodo ngaba de dage gewe zawan degwen zambo jeje rabdo ngo wara je. Thank you.